There's a place in this town where kids learn the wrong things.
Stack of Dimes.
A place where they keep a vicious secret.
Stack of Dimes.
A place controlled by people who profit from pain.
Stack of Dimes.
Now, this town's vicious secret is exposed. There's only one thing to do. Get ready for
Stack of Dimes. Stack of Dimes. Stack of Dimes. Stack of Dimes.
Stack of Dimes. We are the podcast that you show a little bit of attention to, and that podcast just becomes infatuated with you and dreams about getting a Countach. Maybe you guys live together on a beach in California in Malibu. Maybe the podcast becomes an undercover cop, maybe for the FBI or something like that. Does maybe has some sort of a heavy bag set up in his living room. Does kata and does katas, and that gets you really worked up for this podcast. Yeah, you
keep going. Keep going.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look who's back. Look who joined us today. Where's he been? What's he doing?
He's probably in the studio.
Probably in the studio. Yeah, I don't have. This is someone else's little thing that they have up here.
That's all you have.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton. I mean, I just someone. You know what? How do you?
We have no drops, and we have no drops.
Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, we got a few here. I just
have no drops.
I'm just so happy that
Only in America.
You know, I'm just so happy. No, this is actually set up here, and it's not. I didn't set it up, so I'm just kind of going through it. This is something else. Someone else did this.
It wasn't even turned on. I was going to give you a signal.
There's a few things
You're
here.
You're going to give me a signal.
Yeah. So, hey, welcome back. How are you? What's hello, everybody.
Cheers.
Hello.
Yeah.
Come on.
Hitting the drops are going to throw me off. It's been a while.
It's weird.
I used to drive them, so I don't know if I can. My it's like my reflexes are like are down. You know what I mean? Like I can't.
Well, first of all,
power through them. Now I'm just going to be just like standing there slack jawed.
First of all, we've got an idiot running this because you were the master of the sound effects and the drops, right? So yeah, I'm not going to be able to do you justice at all. But yeah, we've got a few things here. Like I said, I didn't set the stuff up. The kids that are here in the station now set something up. One of the kids, he heard that Hank Williams stuff. He had never heard it before. He lost his fucking mind on it. I mean, seriously, he went buck wild.
Wait till you show him Winnebago, man.
He mined so many things like the Only in America and a bunch of other stuff off there that I didn't even know was on there. But yeah, so hey, let's jump right into this. You produced this one last night. You were texting me.
I put a lot of work in the studio. I don't know what really like sparked this memory for me. But if my kids are getting to a certain age or something, but like I distinctly remember like going, like visiting like a friends of my dad. Like my dad was in the service. He was in NAM. He was in the shit. But yeah, he was in NAM, and we went and visited like an army buddy of his in Arizona, like in Phoenix. So like you go down, you're staying at a stranger's house. I'm probably 4th grade, 3rd grade, somewhere in there, right? 9, 10 years old, something, right? You're staying at some weird.
You're in Mrs. LaRock's class, possibly.
Yeah, possibly. It was like spring break. I remember it was like, we're going to go down. It's going to be sunny every day. And it's going to be like, it wasn't. It was still pretty cold because it's like spring break and the weather's unpredictable, right? I think they had a pool. I don't know. I don't recall the specifics. I remember watching a lot of, like, they had HBO, so that was a big thing.
That is a huge thing. We watched
like The Last American Virgin. I watched part of that and was like, oh, this is scandalous. Which
still confused the shit out of me when my neighbor.
Which was like a Canon film, I think, which was like a remake of a movie called like Lemon Pie or something like that they made in Israel, and they remade it here as The Last American Virgin. It's not very good.
But how confused were you with HBO? I did not understand.
Oh my God, yeah.
My friend Matt had it. He's like, "We've got HBO." I was like, "What does that mean? We can watch movies." I don't. What are you talking about? And then he flipped it on, and it was just like the most magical thing I've ever seen in my life. And you couldn't even do anything. You were just at its mercy. you flipped it there and you're in the middle of a movie. They're swearing and everything. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Exactly. We flip it to Last American Virgin. There's a bunch of girls in bras. And you're like, what?
Whoa, wait, whoa.
What? Wait, how is this? It's like one of the turn dials that click, 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 and they go over
Boom.
to it. So he's there. My brother's probably, 16. He's 8 years older than I am. So he's like 16 or 17 or something. And then like my dad's buddy's got older kids too, right? And so there's like definitely like and there may have been one other younger kid there, like another boy or something my age. I don't think so though. I think I was kind of like the only young kid. But then there's like all these older kids and like who they're hanging out with. And then at some point there's like, I don't remember if it was like a cousin or a friend of like one of my, it's all very fuzzy, right? How these people emerge. And there was probably like a high school girl in the mix there. I mean, I was like, that girl looks like Christy Brinkley in Vacation.
Of course.
And I am just like, and she was like, I'm like 8 or 9. So like, oh, look at this. Oh, how are you doing, buddy? Like, just being nice and polite. And I was like, I'm in love with this girl. And I'm going to, when I can get enough money, I'm going to get a Countach. And I'm going to drive down to Phoenix. I'm going to pull up in front of her school. And she's just going to she's going to be like, oh, you're that guy. I remember you. You're back with your Countach.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in. And it's going to be like the end of like License to Drive.
Right.
Where
Sure.
she just pulls up in the car and he runs up and jumps in and just like burns rubber out. And that was like, that's kind of where the story ends, other than like, maybe we again live on the beach and, I stole those memories from you, but live on the beach in Malibu, and I'm an undercover police officer, and I drive the Countach to chase bad guys.
Yeah. Don't copy my.
Yeah. Well, there was probably some shade of Miami Vice was folded in to this like my long-term fantasy here of like how this was going to play out for me. Well, when we get together, when I have this Countach, obviously I'm going to have to be an undercover cop busting drug dealers.
I was a detective, but it could have been an undercover cop because to me at that age, they were the same thing. FBI agent.
Well, I just wanted to be
cop, whatever.
Carry a gun. Drive a Ferrari or a Countach because that's what they did in Miami Vice.
Only two choices are Countach or a Ferrari.
Or Testarossa.
Yep.
Testarossa.
Yep.
Yeah, and so, but like that feeling of just like there is a 16 or 17-year-old girl and you're like 8 or 9 or something like that, or maybe even older, where you're just like there's. I guess when I was thinking about this, like that's such a distinct feeling of like I've never felt love like this before in my life. Like there's something like it's so overwhelming for at that age where you're just like
it really is. It really is. And I think I don't know if this is the same for ladies. I'm sure it is, but I don't remember being like 8 or 9 or 10 or anything around there having like a crush on a schoolmate. You know what I mean? Like, but it's always. You're right. It was always someone like if you were lucky enough to have an older sibling, then it was like someone who was just out of your reach that you just have a complete and utter like crush and infatuation with, like you were saying. I remember I think it was the first summer that we moved from Winlock, Washington to Lake Stevens to the big city.
The megapopolis.
Massive, yes. Yeah. So when we moved, we still had like friends and family down there, and so we would go back down and visit. And one of our like distant family members, like distant cousins, my dad's distant cousin, or whatever, just so happened to move to Winlock, like whenever we, I got a weird last name. So, but this family moved into town as we were moving, and they had the same last name as us. And so it was like this kind of weird thing. We got to know them, and we would go down and visit them like every summer. And I think that my older brother.
Are they related?
Yeah. So we got a family. Yeah, we got a family tree out, and it was like my dad was related to the guy, and it was just this weird coincidence that they moved to Winlock, Washington from like L.A. or somewhere down in California.
God, that's more than a weird coincidence. Like
it's bizarre, right?
The population of Winlock was probably like 800 people or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so when like we were getting ready to move, my dad got his new job up here where, and someone was like, hey, are you related to the so-and-sos or whatever? And I'm like, who are they? And so we met up with them, and then they had this like whole family tree book that one of their relatives wrote, and we traced it all the way back. And we're like, oh, and they bought this giant ranch outside of like Winlock, like, between Winlock and Napavine.
Oh, yeah, I know the area well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because my aunt lived in Napplevine. My grandparents lived in Winlock, so yes.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. So they had a ranch right there, and they would have parties all the time. And I think like the first summer that we moved away, we would come back, and my older brother, he was kind of at the mercy of family trips at that point because I don't think he was old enough to drive, or he was just becoming old enough to drive. And they had this big like kind of family reunion, so they had people coming in from all over. And there were my brothers, I think they were either my brother's age at the time, so like 15 maybe, 14, 15, were twin sisters that came up from like California. And it was just like, first of all, I mean, like attractive teenage twin sisters, like when you're a kid, I don't even know, like you can't even comprehend that things like that exist.
Only in like the Double Mint gum commercial.
That's exactly where your mind goes, especially in that era and that time. It was like they're Double Mint girls or whatever. So yeah, that was just
but
like
they might as well.
all we
from
talked
California about. Too. It's like they might as well been like
celebrities or
celebrities. Yeah, they might as well have been like
exotic
famous singers or actresses or
exactly.
something.
Yeah, it's just stupid. Just completely stupid.
Were we gonna say all you talked about? It was just like it was the talk of the you and your brothers.
Oh, for sure. And so my brother still had friends in town, and so he, it's pretty genius. He was like, I can't handle this. I can't handle this alone. So he got Brian Rocco. He enlisted Brian Rocco. He's like, you got to get out here, Brian. Get your
you won't believe this shit.
and wrap your head around that. So it wasn't like he threw him a text. Hey, bro. It was like
he huffed it over there on a bike or something, or found his phone number. Like had his phone had
his phone number still to memory,
written down in some sort of notebook.
Probably.
Call Brian B. Rocco here.
B. Rocco gave him a call and said, "Can your parents get you out here, stat? Like we got lots, and that sort of shit was like." Adults having beverages, or may have been a keg involved, lots of music. There's a ton of people. It was like bonfires, and they had this piece of property that you could walk down in the fields and all that stuff. So it was a magical time.
Parents would get like I would imagine too. Like probably parents still do this stuff and get pretty like effed up. But like I feel like in the 80s I definitely went through like a few like big group like camping trips, or like my parents would go like a bunch of people from their office would like go, my dad's office, like go river rafting or whatever. And I remember a few nights when like everybody's acting really funny.
Yeah.
And, like I didn't really realize like people were like just shit hammered, just absolute crunk town.
Yeah. And what was great about that too was they were so into their own little scene. They were just happy that you had a scene like, oh, they got other kids here. You guys go off and,
I know exactly the impulse now because I do the same thing. Like we were like, just last Friday, was it last Friday? I'd pick up the kids from like, they were over to a friend's house, and there was a bunch of parents there, and they were drinking whatever, and all the kids were off doing nobody. Where are the kids? Inside watching a movie or something. Okay, whatever. I don't care.
Good.
As long as they're not scream like if they need us, they'll come out screaming or crying or whatever, right? So I totally get the impulse. Like if they're not fighting or screaming or crying,
let them be.
You're just like
let them be.
Pour another, bro. Yeah, I'll take another. Yeah. I did not buy. For the record, when I picked up my kids, I was coming from something else. It was like Friday evening. Something else. It wasn't turned on. No, I was like, I was coming from like work or something. I was like, sober as a sheet actually at the time. And I showed up because they're like, oh yeah, pick up your kids. You can come by at like 5:30 and grab them. And I come by and the kids are all off playing. Like they're not ready to get picked up. And the parents were all like, they're 2 or 3 wine bottles like deep here amongst like 4 to 6 people and beers and other stuff. I was like, it's always weird entering when I was by myself. Amanda wasn't with me. It's always weird entering the party at that stage where you're like, oh, I'm this train has left the station.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm just like looking down the tracks here. And it's like, you're like, hey, everybody. And they're like, I'm like, no way I'm ever going to catch up. So I'll just have a carbonated water here and just take in the show. Yeah. Anyways, but I get that like sort of family reunion, big camping, whatever thing where it's like there's romance is in the air, love's in the air.
Did you ever? Again, your brother's so much older than you are.
Yeah.
But did he ever bring like ladies home that he was dating or anything like that? Did you ever get any of that?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, like I didn't, probably towards like, so he graduated high school and I was in 4th grade. So probably like, third or 4th grade or something. But I remember one particular I was like more probably infatuated with because like, oh my gosh, a high school girl. I think more often like I feel like I would get, I think I've talked about this on the show before. We'd go up on like the ski bus, right? Be in these situations where I get thrown in, and it'd be like I'd be the youngest person amongst like age groups that were like higher, and he would just like go off and do whatever his thing was, and they would just be like, "Oh, here's the cute little kid. Oh, isn't he adorable? He's cute." And that was definitely. I think there was definitely a few crushes developed on that ski bus. And I've said this before, and the next year I showed up as a year older and I wasn't cute anymore. I'd aged out quickly.
Yeah, we talked about that.
6.
Unlike a sitcom, they couldn't get a new kid in to replace your cuteness.
They're replaced, yes. They're like, nobody gave a shit the next year. I was like ready to walk in like the big swinging dick. Like, nobody fucking just wouldn't even give me the time of day.
Can't wait for this again.
Sit
this
down,
is gonna be
loser.
Great.
Sit down, loser. Nice pants, you dork. I'm like, oh, man. I'm trying to. I would say another. It must be all my dad's like Vietnam buddies. There was another trip that I took. Like it was. I think this one was like in high school, and we went out like east. And it was in high school. It was. I want to say it was probably like 92, 93 because I picked up a Karate International, and I think I told you I dropped it into a Dove bar that melted all over. And I was just devastated. Just devastated. I was like, this is going to be.
So we were hanging. We were hanging at that point because if you were buying Karate International, that was my bad influence on you.
Oh yeah, that was like 91, 92, somewhere in there. I don't think I could drive.
Yeah.
So it was like earlier than that. But I remember like going out east and like that army buddy had like his daughter was probably like 6 or 8 years older than us. So like you're like we were maybe like freshmen in high school or something. And she was like in college, right? Like a couple of years into college. And that was definitely one that was like, like, like this did very much. And we like ended up hanging out and being friends and stuff. It was definitely like it seemed like something out of some sort of
movie.
What type
of movie?
Like a Goonies type of movie or something, right? I'm the Sean Astin to the whatever the girl character was in that movie, right? Where you're like, where like there's no possible chance, but there's this infatuation. Like, why would a girl in college care about some dork in high school, a freshman in high school with no license, who's visibly distraught about dropping his Karate International into a melted Dove bar? Because he can't take it back to his buddy in Lake Stevens and show him. Full color fold out of Van Damme, dude. You would have loved it.
When
you absolutely would have loved it.
You're talking about a Dove bar? Are you talking like an ice cream bar or like a candy bar?
Like an ice cream bar. Like I set it down somewhere and it like felt like it wasn't the Dove bar I was eating, but it was on the. Like I think we were doing like one of those tour buses, and it fell onto the floor, and I picked it up. It was just covered in just like melted chocolate and vanilla. It was like, why can't? There's no salvaging this at this point. It's a mess. It's a gooey mess.
I'm a weirdo too.
So she wasn't into that, apparently. I don't know.
I'm a weirdo too that I can remember like magazines that I've damaged. Like I love that sticks out for you. Like comic books and magazines that I had. It was like I remember like I think I had Punisher War Journal #1, and my younger brother Kurt he decided to draw like a picture, but he used that to, like he put the piece of paper down on top of it and was like pressing really hard with a ballpoint pen. And so it like bled through, and there was like, you know how it traces through. You can see the divots in the cover, and it just,
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, and it's like, what are you going to do? It's like, oh, man, maybe I'll get another one, a pristine one. You never do. It's just like you deal with it and you move on. But you always remember those ones, don't you?
Those, and I would say what happens to my girls is like one of the girls will be working on something diligently, like some little art thing they're doing, and then the other kid will do something inadvertently, or something will happen inadvertently to like ruin that thing, or like crinkle it or something, like not even on purpose, right?
Right.
And that is just like, I worked so hard on that, and they're just like, I was like, oh man, like I'm like. I know it seems like I'm like, like placating to them or something. Like, honestly, I understand.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
It's brutal. Yeah. It's just brutal.
Yeah. I mean, when he did that, it's like, what am I going to do? He had one, he took some silly putty. Remember that shit? And it was like, look, you can press it on a comic book and you can pull it off and it'll, what newspapers and comic books, it'll copy the print, right? That was a big part of like silly putty. Yeah. That was one of the things it could do. One of the many, many amazing things it can do. Hey, look, you can pick up ink and totally turn this thing into like dirty looking mud now or whatever. Yeah. But he was like, oh, maybe it'll work on the cover of this, other magazine / book, comic book, whatever I had. And it was like, nope, that didn't work. But he just left it there. So the whole thing just kind of like
turned that greasy.
It just like kind of like, if you let that shit sit, it kind of, it almost turns to liquid. Like the gravity.
It's like oil. It's like,
and it spreads, it spreads out like way further than like the little ball that he had there. And I remember like coming back like hours later and like peeling this shit off, and it was like totally ruined. Like, God damn it.
Son of a bitch.
It doesn't even come off at the cover, you idiot. You got to do it in the print on the inside, you dummy. But ruined that deal. But I think I had some weird OCD tendencies when it came to that crap. Like, I always wanted to try to keep my books not dog-eared, and nice.
Oh, right.
Even if they're like a paperback bullshit book or whatever, but...
I guess that sort of goes to your Blu-ray
probably
digital or physical media
for sure
collection tendencies today.
Yeah, I mean half the time I don't even watch. I think I was reading something about another collector. Where it was like half the time I don't even watch the discs. I'm just like looking at the box art and opening it up and pulling the little booklet out and smelling it.
Who's got 2 hours to watch a movie?
I know,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But I can appreciate the time that went into the creation of the box art, and then I'll put that back up on the shelf, and then one day sit and look at it and go like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then keep doing it. That's how that goes. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. So my older brother, towards, I don't know, right, like maybe like junior, senior year, we had some ladies enter the house, a handful. 2 precisely, which was kind of a weird deal for me because it was
I mean, enter like
like they started hanging out or whatever, right?
Oh,
so
okay,
it was like,
got it. I was like, what? They moved in with you? Or
no.
Okay,
He just started hanging out with like a girlfriend or whatever, right? And it was weird because we're a house full of dudes. Like I got 2 brothers, my dad and my mom, so it was like it was just super.
Your exposure
awkward.
here, it was just like very limited. I get it. I only had a brother.
And I think I've shared on the show some of the issues I had. I was getting ready to take a shower. She walked in on me one time. It was awkward.
I don't remember this story.
Oh yeah, there was like the old Orr house.
Yeah.
We had I think we had 2 full bathrooms, right? And my parents' bathroom was very close to the living room, but and usually people didn't use it. Like they would use the other one that was down the hall. So I was like, oh, I'll take a shower in here and leave that one open or whatever. And she totally walked in on me. I'm sure I was like, I don't even know, scrawny, like no body hair at all. Just like I was probably like 13, I want to say, something like that. And
that's such a devastating age.
Oh my God, I was just devastated. And so you imagine, she's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. She like walks out, and I'm like, like I covered up my little bits, you know, and then I think really all she saw was my ass, right? And I'm like, but you know what? You know, it's better than when I was like, I don't know, senior year or something. She would have seen zits all over my ass, my back knee, all this shit, and
you'd probably been like. It would have been worse if you like dropping a deuce or something.
Yeah, no, that would be
one leg out of your pants.
Absolutely like devastating. Just in there, just one leg out, reading a comic book or whatever, or no, an international kung fu or black belt. Like, what a fucking loser. But then you could. So then the whole time I'm taking a shower, I was like, oh my god, you know. And then so I get out, and she was like, I'm so sorry, I had no idea. And I was like, no. And she's like, I promise you, I didn't see anything. I was like, no, it's fine, it's no big deal. Like, Jesus.
Oh,
and then this is the one that I've talked about on the show. So what would be a treat is they would go up to Tom Thumb. They'd rent a videotape, right? So and be like, so it would be one of these things too, where it'd be like a Friday night. You know, I got big plans. Probably going to play some TurboGrafx 16. You know, maybe me and Kurt will pretend that we're WWF wrestlers and wrestle in the living room.
Maybe you're going to dust off the PXL, make a music video.
Make a music video. I got a big night planned, and then all of a sudden my older brother shows up with this lady friend, and he's like, we rented a movie from Tom Thumb. Like, oh, shit, let's do this. This is great. And I remember he rented Career Opportunities.
Oof. Yeah.
Which we just did.
There's a lot of feels in that movie.
Oh, for sure. We just did this on You Blew It, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
really?
we just did this. It was the last one we did. So Career Opportunities, and then Can't Buy Me Love. So
oh yeah,
2 separate occasions, and I can't remember which movie it was, but I know I've told this show on here before, but let's do it again. So lady friend is sitting on the couch with my brother. I'm sitting in a chair that's like directly across the couch, and there's like a coffee table in between us.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm totally awkward. I don't, you know, it's just miserable. Just have no idea how to act, right?
Right.
And so, you know, she's nice. She's like, and you know, engaging, and you know, talking about the movie and shit. And I notice when I'm this is so fucking terrible. I hate telling this story. She had like leggings on, you know, like tight black leggings. And I know, like, the way she was sitting, I was like a little lower, and so her legs were right there. And you know, hey, you know, talking back and forth, looking at the TV, and at one point I look over, and she's got a hole in her legging, like on her inner thigh, very very close to the Mons Venus, if you know what I mean, right? But
very strategic. Yes.
I you know, peripherally see like, oh, what, you know, that's weird. And so watch the movie where I look over and I look down, and I was like, oh, she's got a hole in her legging. And I look up at her, and she's looking right at me. And she goes, did you just look at my crotch? I was like, no.
How hot did you get in that moment?
Oh my God,
just
dude.
Like, just full body heat. Just like totally yes.
And
break out into sweat.
And then it was just like, oh, and then I just focused on the movie. Like, I probably never said a word for her the whole night. And just was like, just didn't move my head anymore. No, and I was like, and now as an adult, I thought, like, why didn't you just say, like, yeah, sorry, I think you got a hole in your, you know, like, you know, like point it out, like, but no, had to, to this day, I think about that, and it's so fucking cringy. I don't even know what my brother said. I can't remember if he was like, hey, you fucking perv, you know, whatever whatever he said to me. But like, oh man, I get
about that thing. Like, I've had that happen with like a coworker. I may have told this story on the show where I glanced over in a meeting and then like turned my head back and caught something out of the corner of my eye. And then when I looked back, I looked at this coworker, and his pants had split open. It was just tidy whities, just like his junk was just hanging out the front, just like a big mound of tidy whitey was hanging out the front of his pants.
And your eyes are drawn to it because there's a break in like the color,
it's a different
right?
color. Yeah. It's like, it was like he went from wearing his khakis to like bright white. And we're in a meeting with a client, and I was like, I can't say anything. And then we like I think I've told this before. We get up from this meeting and we're walking out.
Terry, you got to blow out.
Yeah. And, yeah, he was going on to like multiple meetings with that same client the rest of the day. And my part was kind of done for the day. And his name, that's funny you say Jerry. I think his name was Perry.
No, I said like, Terry, but.
Oh, his name was Perry. And it was like, Perry. I was like, dude, you need to check your pants. I think you blew your crotch out. He goes, what the? Oh, son of a! I gotta find a stapler. And he just like scurried off to go staple his pants together. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had a crotch blow like to the extent where it's like split like that in underwear.
Oh yeah, I mean he must have like squatted down or bent over, or done something earlier that day, or who knows.
I mean I've had pants wear out.
I have a pair of jeans that are like paper thin that I wear, kind of like more weekend jeans, like or I'll wear like Home Depot and stuff like that. And like now and then I'll be wearing them. I'm like, when's the last time I checked the crotch or the ass of these things? My ass hanging out right now because it feels kind of breezy. I kind of like I'll like suddenly put my hand back there, like okay, I think I'm covered. But like the knees are just like if I put them on too vigorously, like I'll tear a hole in the knee of them. They're like so thin.
It's like do your toe get caught like in the near?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, they've been washed so many times. They're just like completely falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's brutal. I don't know if I have like the older, I probably do, and I've probably suppressed it, like the interaction with an older girl and just like have a moment like that where you just like, I'm never going to speak of this again. I'm going to suppress this and it'll never come up.
Yeah. A friend of ours that we have talked about many times on the show has had two older sisters. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but
yeah, I'll catch up. Yeah,
but when we started, I don't know, again hitting like 14, 15, somewhere around there, just right before we got our driver's license, she was, I think, maybe a senior, and I'd go over there, and she would do all sorts of shit that was like very like, not teasing me, but like. Talking about her boob sweat. And I was like, like the first drink of beer that I had, she had like a boyfriend over and she was like, do you want to have a beer? And I was like, I don't think I should. And I remember it was, I think it was like, Lowenbrow. They had a 6-pack of Lowenbrow, and she was like, she gave me a drink of her Lowenbrow. I don't know if she gave me a beer or like here, grab a cup. And I was like, and it was just like I had, and that was a weird thing where it was like these weird sort of like, this is my friend's sister. This is weird. Like she's right. And they had a hot tub, so she'd be out there in her bathing suit, and I like, just like I just was such a dork, dude.
It's just it's like you don't even know what to like my trip to Arizona and I'm like 8 or 9, like even when you're 15 you're like I don't know what to do with what's going on right now in my head, like I don't like it's not even like I know you said like your brother like you fucking pervert or whatever, it's not even that,
it's not that
just, like, it's just this this flood of like there's so much going on in my brain right now I can't even process. I'm just like this whole system's just like shutting down on me. I'm just going into just like, and there was like kids I feel like in high school that like knew like somehow they were way more advanced and knew knew exactly what to say and do, and for us it was just like it was just like complete another just like it was like your phone locking up, like just no input, that nothing would work. Like I got to reboot this thing. This is not working. This got too much, it got overloaded. That was essentially like my reaction to every
absolutely. You'd lay in bed for hours that night thinking about all of that, all the things that happened that day.
I could have said this. I could have said that. We could have talked about Countach's. The one that pops in my head a lot since we're drifting into high school here. Boy, how do I explain this person? I don't like.
Did you know who I was talking about? You know who I was talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. There was I can use her first name. There was Amy. She was a senior. I was a freshman. We were in drafting class together. There was like the drafting class was like a weird, like, sort of a a great equalizer or something. It was like every grade was in the same like entry level drafting
Oh, sure,
class.
right. Like, yeah,
There was like
yeah.
freshmen
Yeah.
in there, seniors in there, whatever. They're all just, it was like some elective bullshit credit, right? And it was like, oh, there's seniors taking whatever. And whatever reason, like, yeah, she took, like, we sat across the aisle or sat next to each other, and like, I don't know, it was probably funny and stupid and just a general dork, and she like took a liking. Oh, you know, her sister was in our grade too, right?
Yep,
so
yep.
she knew us that way, or knew me that way. And she would be like, it would, she was still to this day, if I think back, she was like extremely cute for, in high school, right? Like she was definitely one of the more attractive. I think she was probably in the homecoming court and all of that, right? Like nominated or something. But like we'd be in drafting class and she'd be like, JD, my back hurts. Give me a back rub today or whatever. I like go give her like a neck and back rub, and they'd be like, I was just in heaven, under just in absolute heaven. No, I was just like, this is how do I put it? This is all I need in the world. I found is just like if this is the rest of my existence, just being in a drafting class and giving Amy neck rubs, I'm going to be fine with that. It's all downhill from here. It can't get any better.
No.
She's like, go sit down, dork. Okay.
Man, I don't know if I had heard that one. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even know. There was probably one back rub ever given, but boy, it really it stuck with me. But it feels
was
like
there any like older classmen that was like, "Hey, fucko, stop talking"? You know, like, did anyone fuck with you?
No, she sat at a table. The drafting desks were like in these pods of 4. Did you ever take drafting? It was like you sat at a drafting like table, like a drafting desk. It was like slanted.
No,
right?
I know what you're talking about. I'm pretty certain that like electrical. I had electrical, and I think it took place in the same room,
like same building. Yeah. And they sat in these desks that were like pods of 4.
Yeah.
Mr. Graham.
Yes.
Graham,
Yeah.
Also the soccer coach.
And I think Graham did the electrician class, electrical class. We had to build
might be right.
Try to build sheds out back behind that building, I think, is what we did.
So me and Jeff were in one pod, one of these little pods of 4, and I can't remember who else. There was like Asher.
Oh
he was in one of
boy.
our, yeah.
Boy,
and
that son of a bitch.
Sat right across from me was Amy, and it was just like, oh, we just struck up a friendship. But I continued to take drafting, I think, for the rest of the year, and I think after a quarter, she's like, this class sucks, and she was gone, and it was like, oh, yeah, maybe she'll come back one day.
Asher, by the way, a social leper, but man, could he draw. Boy, was I jealous of Asher's drawings. Really? Oh, hell yeah. In fact, you know, I plateaued at probably like 13 or whatever, and I would do these drawings, and he would openly just shit on my drawings. He was like, "What is that? Why'd you draw that way? That's not even the right perspective." I was like, "Oh fuck."
I'll give Asher credit. He turned me on to Nirvana and 9 Inch Nails.
It does not surprise me.
Yeah,
and he
had like a tape. He was like, "You should listen to this tape." And he had Nirvana dubbed from another tape.
Yeah,
so like one of the songs, like Polly, if you know that song, like cut off halfway. And anytime I hear the song Polly in my head, it stops right there.
Yeah, of course.
I'm like, oh, there's more to the song. I forgot. And then 9 Inch Nails, I was just fucking like blown away. Like, what is this? This is crazy. I've never heard anything like this before.
I didn't know that.
I immediately went out and bought
funny.
the CD after that.
That is funny. Because I know 9 Inch Nails from you. So he passed it to you and you passed it to me. I didn't mind the guy. It was just he was very very straightforward, and I remember at the time just being like, "You're kind of a dick," and but I don't know how I feel about that. But you're right, man. Your fucking drawing's way better than mine in my head. You know, like.
You know, he didn't have a lot of W's in his call. He didn't have a lot of tallies in the W column for Asher. So I see where he was like, I got this drawing shit on lockdown, and nobody's going to step to me on drawing.
Yeah,
I'm going to own it. Because
give credit
otherwise, otherwise it wasn't like he was,
No. And
like you said.
I think he was at least one of those guys that got a lot of shit from like jockos and shit like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Too, you know
That's
what
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, so if he could have a domain that he owned, more power to him.
Yeah.
You know?
God damn. What it's so funny how we went from 8 years old all the way up to high school at that point.
Is it 14 probably?
Yeah.
What's freshman year? 13, 14?
14, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then no, it's
13, 14 probably.
Yeah, but I always think of it like this. Isn't it freshman year you get your learner's permit? Sophomore you get your driver's license. And then junior year, nothing spectacular. And then obviously at 18, that's what it is for me. Yeah. 15, 16, 17, 18. That's more or less, right? You go in.
And you're like December birthday. So like for me, it's like I was at the end of the year. Like school got out essentially like right around. Like now school gets out so late. Like my kids don't get out till like I think like July 1st or something like that this year because of the teachers' strike. It's crazy. I don't know. I feel like we used to get out like June 1st or the end of May. Yeah. Like I feel like sometimes Memorial Day weekend could have been like the last week of school for us.
Yeah. Wow. Jesus.
Yeah, it's nuts, dude.
So then how long does it last?
Well, they'll go back after Labor Day. So literally 2 months, I guess.
Oh, man. Because it was like 3 months.
But they have midwinter
right?
break and stuff now, so they get an extra week off randomly in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but also it could be I'm a dummy. I mean, I do have a weird birthday, I guess, but that's how I always think of it.
No, you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think a license at the end of sophomore year rings a bell. Yeah. So yeah, probably 13.
Yeah,
shoosh. Well, I think we did it. If we go any further now than that in age is just going to get really uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's never stopped us before.
That's when JD and Thunder really discovered some things.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, that'll do it. Thank you, everyone. Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
I was hoping for Obama or Three Stooges or something.
I mean, we're still rolling, so I can give you a
Obama.
I can give you a
Biden.